You're simply the best. It's VGC, the video game podcast, episode 173 with me, Jordan Midler, Pete Donaldson, and Alex Donaldson. This week, we're renaming VGC to VGC, but first, Celtic are the champions of Scotland once again. Congratulations to VGC's official team for a hard-fought season with no controversy whatsoever. How we doing, folks? Pete Donaldson, it's a wonderful Friday in the kingdom. How are you? Get that hand right up there.
Get that hand right up there. What a strange end to the Scottish Premier League season.
Keep really, rolling on. It's the Scottish Cup final tomorrow. No one seems to care about it.
Brilliant.
Hugely disrespectful to that old glorious cup competition. You're just back from holiday. How was that?
Good. I'm adjusting to not drinking upwards of 4 cans a day, and my baklava levels are so low right now. I need to head to Finsbury Park to replenish. But yeah, had a good time.
Was that an all inclusive job? Was that a self?
It was an all inclusive. Yeah, it was an all inclusive job, and it's a little bit of kids club in the morning for the little one, and I got to read a tenth of a book, which is good.
Managed better than me. Alex Donaldson, how's the head this morning?
It's all right. It wasn't. I went to the 007 First Light premiere last night and had a little drink with Christopher Drink, and it wasn't as heavy as I'd feared it might be. I mean, it was one of those funny ones where you feel like, I'm not drunk at all, and I remember sitting on the train and thinking to myself, I could have driven to the station, because by the time this train gets back in, I'll probably be sober enough. And then when I woke up this morning, I was like, no, I definitely made the right decision not driving to the station, because I still felt a bit peaky, and I was obviously just running on a bit of a buzz. But yeah, my head is fine. It was travelling yesterday to London and back. I've never seen so many Aston Villa tops in my life.
Yes.
Like, they all came out of the woodwork, because I was travelling down probably right around the time people were travelling to the parade or whatever. I don't know. Don't pay that much attention. But yeah, I'm just glad of the good weather.
This week I was in Paris, VGC's least favourite city in the world, to see a game that I can talk about next week or something like that. But I had a cheeseburger that was delivered to me in a pan of cheese, which was pretty
a pan made out of cheese, or just a cheese?
No, it was like
cheesy
a
pan.
A skillet with like a layer of cheese, and like the two halves of the cheeseburger were like dunked into it, and it looked amazing visually, but the cheese was it wasn't delivered to me with the speed required, so the cheese was a bit cool and thus became more of a kind of a paint consistency, which was disappointing for everyone involved. But outside of that, it was an interesting trip that I'll talk about next week. We've got a lot of news this week, and at the end of the show we've even got a 15-minute report from Nippon, from Japan, from our intrepid reporters Chris Scullion and Andy Robinson, who are out there at BitSummit. But until then, you can support VGC at patreon.com/video games chronicle for extra podcasts, more videos, and all that good stuff, and get your tickets to VGC Live this October in Glasgow. Let's get into it. Story number 1. Bungie reportedly plans significant layoffs as no Destiny 3 green lit. That's according to Bloomberg, which claims that the studio will focus on the extraction shooter Marathon in the near term, with some Destiny 2 developers already being transferred to the game. A significant number of layoffs are planned, it's claimed, which will be the latest to hit the studio following its $3.6 billion sale to Sony Interactive Entertainment in 2022. Money well spent, lads. The company doesn't have a new project lined up for Destiny 2's development team after the game comes to an end next month, according to the publication, and it doesn't plan to immediately enter production on Destiny 3. This follows the news that Bungie is winding down on Destiny 2, with the final live service content update coming on June 9th. Alex Donaldson, I said last week that Insomniac was probably PlayStation's best purchase ever. Is Bungie shaping up to be PlayStation's worst purchase ever?
Bungie's a good studio, right?
Yeah.
But I think it just speaks to this whole, what are you going to call it, a correction that we've had. post-COVID, where everyone splashed loads of money during COVID. And actually, it doesn't really matter if it's in areas like, game studios, games media, outside of games. You look at like Disney laying people off loads as well. The main thing you take from it, right, is all this consolidation and acquisition stuff is a bloody nightmare. Bungie's a funny situation because it's like, I think what became clear is those guys wanted to sell, they wanted to divest that business to someone else, and they were going to do that come hell or high water. So someone would have bought them. But you look at a situation like this and you're like, well, maybe it would have been better if they'd ended up, I don't know, some sort of private equity thing buys them, and then they're able to operate and deliver profit for as a going concern of their own, as opposed to becoming part of a bigger business. And when you're part of a bigger business, sometimes because at the end of the day, Destiny 2, successful, had its problems and stuff like that. Marathon, the jury is still out, but these are things where in another situation, these studios, they wouldn't be doing this in a different situation. But when you're part of a much bigger business, the hammer comes down, and it's horrible to see. And especially, because Destiny has been such a beloved game and so important, I've been really surprised. Perhaps I shouldn't have been surprised, but it's only when I saw the sort of outpouring of there's no other word for it, of grief of Destiny players at the realization that Destiny 2 was ending when Destiny 3 is not in production. Or at least Jason Schreier says that Destiny 3 isn't in production. I absolutely believe him. You realize how important it was and how successful it was. It's a bummer. It sucks, and it just shows that all these acquisitions are to some degree folly.
Pete, when a game of this size with this dedicated an audience comes to an end, I always think you're at real risk of just those players not even moving on to a new game, them just like falling out of love with gaming in general, because they're like, why would I invest all this time into this one thing when it can just be taken away from me? What is your take on something like Destiny 2, which has been such a going concern for so long, winding down when it seemed like such a money factory?
I mean, cut forward, 3 or 4 years, and you'll be having like server turn off parties as the as the world goes dark for Destiny 2. It just seems bizarre because Marathon as a series, if they're sort of sacking off a third Destiny game for Marathon, and like Marathon back in the day was like the game that Mac owners would tell Amiga and PC owners that there are actually some games on Mac, and no, they're not. Nobody loves Marathon. It's not a cherished series, is it? So to sack off something like Destiny for something like that just seems absolutely baffling. I'm almost predicting that the most notable thing to come out of Marathon's release will be the thievery of that art, some months back. I just can't see it landing as hard as a Destiny game, certainly. So you've really got to ask the question, like, this doesn't even serve the shareholders, surely.
Yeah, it feels like if it wasn't, Jason seemed to imply that the reason that they've not started spinning up a Destiny 3 is just the sheer amount of money it would cost to do so, and I do understand that from their perspective, but like the Marathon, it was well received. There's a hardcore player base there. That hardcore player base, and I feel like are hitting the point that all of these games hit, where they're like, they've done everything, they want infinite content, they're like rubbing up against the developers of the game. So we'll see how that continues. But I just think Destiny, especially when the Destiny 1 was pitched as like this 10-year game, and then they course corrected with that and did Destiny 2, and then that seemed to actually achieve what the first game was trying to do. And I think a Destiny 3 would be a massive launch, because Destiny's a game that people who aren't super into games love. Destiny, like Destiny's a kind of a game outside of the gaming space, but I just don't think that's in the cards at the minute. The other element of this is there's likely to be significant layoffs from Bungie. Not a good look whatsoever. Alex, where do you think Bungie goes from here? Like, did they just move fully into like a Marathon's, not support studio because it's their game, but just keeping Marathon going, and then maybe a Wetworks team try to make a Destiny 3?
I mean, well, this is the whole thing, right? It's like the problem is that there's that mismatch. Like, why did Sony buy Bungie? And the answer is they were attracted to, this was a studio that knew how to run live service, online-based, content update-driven games with user retention. And Sony wanted that so Bungie could do that for them, but also so that Bungie could teach others. But this was a time when Bungie was making a Last of Us multiplayer thing and making all these games. And let's be honest, they haven't actually had a successful live service game since, even when
only Helldivers.
Well, yeah, but that's not theirs, is it? Like, it's a funny one. Like, they've got a great publishing deal on it, fabulous. But you know, what I mean is a Sony, like, you didn't have that Last of Us thing coming to fruition. We'll see how this Horizon one goes, right? I suppose that's the next test. But no one outside of Bungie managed to do one. And the thing is, Sony made the decision to buy Bungie out of an interest for that stuff based on the calibration of the market in whatever year it was, however long ago it was now, 2022. And everything's changed. And the irony is people are running away from those sorts of games now.
Yeah.
So it's what does the future hold for them? I don't know. Like, I mean, I think a Destiny 3 is a no-brainer, but no one wants to spend any money at the minute. And even I think that's the crazy bit of this. If you tell me that Destiny 3 isn't greenlit, I perfectly understand it. But the idea that they're just going to if you tell me they're going to spin down Destiny 2 content, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. But the fact that they're literally just going to stop is astonishing to me. That's the shocking thing. And Marathon, the jury is still out. Is it going to have a large enough audience? It's clearly already built up a really strong audience of really vocal 30-something and 40-something people who have strong memories of Halo and have been playing Destiny for a long time and have come over. Is it going to, over the time of its live service duration, find a wider market? Who knows? I mean, it's really, really tremendously early days on that. But I am just so shocked at them just ending. And obviously, the servers are going to continue and stuff. I think, you know, but that day will come too, right? Like P said, and I love a good old game dev server connection. I did the thing. I connected to OG Xbox Live until Halo 2 stopped working. My favourite one was I went back to the Matrix Online, and that was a fun one because of the nature of that world. The people who were in charge of doing the shutdown like tried to do it in an in-universey sort of way, like the Matrix is actually being shut down. It was fantastic.
That was good.
But yeah, I mean, it's sad. And it's, you know, hopefully the studio can sort of downsize a bit, lose a lot of brilliant talent, but hopefully that they can then stabilize. My fear is that stuff like this is just the rolling stone that then gathers loads of moss as it goes down the hill and becomes unstoppable.
Well, while we're on PlayStation, good news, everyone. A PlayStation State of Play has been announced for June 2nd, 2026. It'll be over an hour long and feature an extended look at Marvel's Wolverine. The interesting thing here, Alex, is they're showing this in cinemas. They have asked influencers to come out to cinemas to react to this. I think that this is going to be it'll be a state of play full of logos for games that are miles away just to get some positive buzz, because boy, PlayStation need a story that's not the console's more expensive or we're shutting down Bluepoint.
I think that
go on.
Me personally,
go on.
Me personally, I'm putting it delicately. I have never really understood the idea of going to a cinema to watch some adverts. I'm sure you've all got very big televisions. Just put it up on your big telly and enjoy it, and go, wow, you know, in the comfort of your own home. But whatever. But even at events, like, I don't tend to, like, Summer Games Fest. I'm not going to go to the room for the broadcast because I can just watch it in my hotel room or with you boys or whatever. But the thing that I'm curious about with this actually is a lot of the Sony hits from back in the day that you'd fold into, because don't forget they used to do that as well for the old E3 conferences. They like the Year of Dreams. I remember that one was definitely shown in cinemas around the US. But you think about that Year of Dreams, right? And it's like, what were the defining things there? It was FF7, Shenmue. What was the other one?
Crash. Was that the same year?
What was the other?
FF7 remake, Shenmue, and Last Guardian. Last Guardian was the other one.
Last Guardian, that was it. No wonder I forgot that. And so it was. But the thing that's changed in terms of how the industry is set up now is, I could be wrong on this, right? But typically, Capcom, for instance, will do marketing deals with Sony. So for Resident Evil, for instance, they'll have a Resident Evil State of Play and stuff like that, and they'll have co-marketing deals. But typically, Capcom announces games at neutral events. So it's like, if Capcom were to announce a big game at Summer Games Fest, I imagine it would be in Jeff's show and not here. Unless, I think probably the exception to that is if they were doing an expansion. I think they would consider that smaller. So if it was Monster Hunter expansion, which I would expect in the relative near future, or if it was maybe Dragon's Dogma actually does get the expansion, God please, then maybe that goes in a Sony show or a Microsoft show. And actually, but the interesting thing is, the similar thing is, like, the big dunk that you would put in the show like this currently, I guess, would be FF7 free. But my guess is, because they're now going multi-platform and everything's going to be day and date, again, they will try and have that as a neutral thing. So again, if that's going to be there, I would expect it to be in Jeff's show. So that leaves me thinking, what is in this? Is it all first? I mean, I guess, if they're ready to start talking about Uncharted, this would be a good place.
The one
they've got an hour to fill.
Yeah, I know.
So they'll have to do something. I think on the.
I imagine 20 minutes will be Wolverine, right? 2025.
Just 20 minutes of him going shing, like, which I would be up for. The one that I immediately thought of was Hogwarts Legacy 2, because that game is in development as well, on its way, and I'm pretty sure that was it was revealed at a PlayStation show in 2020, I believe, and I feel like that's something they would want to do. That game sold ridiculous numbers of copies, so a Hogwarts Legacy 2 reveal, time it with that new shitey TV series, it seems like an obvious one.
There was an interesting rumor about that game, and I don't care, so I didn't really.
What house are you in, Alex?
When I think I am 37 years old, so I am the exact. They came round to my school during the auditions, and people in my school auditioned for roles in the films. So I'm the exact right age where I grew up giving a damn about all that stuff. Like, I remember when I think the Sixth Book leaked on BitTorrent as like scans, and I was that like excited about it. I read it on a computer screen because it was available on the computer screen like 48 hours before it was going to be a physical book. Anyway, so I was into it back then, but I don't give a damn now. For various reasons. I think it's that's a franchise I just sort of grew out of. And some people do grow out of those. There's plenty of people who watched Star Wars in the 70s who grew out of it, and then there's plenty of people who didn't. And Potter's the same. And anyway, but I saw a rumor, but because I didn't really give a damn, I didn't really dig any deeper and check how accurate it was. But the rumor was suggesting that this is not going to be a sequel to the first game. Because the first game was obviously set years in the past, right?
Yeah, it was like 100 years before the setting of the books.
And the thing that I read was that they were doing an original story, but that would take place concurrently with the TV show in the same world as the TV show. So that becomes... And that's out at Christmas, right? So it makes sense, but it depends on when the game's going to be ready.
Yeah. I think they would... If that is the case, I wonder how... So the fan things that have popped up around Hogwarts Legacy, and I always end up getting bloody like TikTok edits of these characters. Like the original characters that the team made for that game have really resonated with like an audience who are looking for any new official Harry Potter stuff, because like obviously the original series is like old now and done to death. So I think there would be like some revolt, and maybe people don't... The fans of that game don't want a game where essentially you're off doing a wee mission and then non-licensed non-official actors, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, run past in the background and go, "Oh, hello, how you doing?" Like,
this is what I mean. Assumedly, it would be the official actors, right? It'd be the new guys, it'd be the new kids.
It would be a bit like, do you remember the Battlefront 2 story mode where you would do a mission and then at the end of it, Luke Skywalker would pop up and go, "Hello, how you doing? See you later on. Lovely to be here." And Han Solo would pop up and go, "Thank you for doing that for me." Like,
I'm fascinated, but I mean, this is broader and it's like boring business stuff, but I'm really interested in the nuts and bolts of how they're gonna, like, at what point do the pictures on the boxes of the Lego sets switch from Daniel Radcliffe, etc., to these new guys?
Yeah.
And do you have both on the shelf at the same time? Like, do you have sets from the later stories with Emma Watson on, and because you haven't done the later stories with the new kid, you know what I mean? So I'm very curious about how, because I don't think, has there been a brand really that's had that sort of reinvention while all the toy stuff exists?
It changed from Darth Vader to Kylo Ren for that era of Star Wars.
But that's different because you could still have Darth Vader because Darth Vader hadn't been replaced.
Yeah.
Whereas they ostensibly are replacing.
So are they the same characters then? They're just different actors?
The TV show is a new version of it.
I see, right.
I think their argument is the films, there was loads of material in, because obviously books are long, so there was loads of material in the books they cut out of the films, whereas if you've got 10, 12 hours of television, you can do way more accurate adaptations of the book. But they are retelling the same, like, and obviously, you know, at what point does Alan Rickman disappear from all the official stuff and Pepe,
Papa
I forget his name. Yeah.
What kind of happens financially to the children's bank accounts? That's what I want to know, because presumably they're not on the kind of money that the Hermione and all them and Harry got in the first film. But I imagine, and TV being as it is, you know, you don't get paid anything for like Netflixy sort of stuff these days. But what do you reckon? Season 2, season 3 money? What kind of money are we talking about? Because they'll know the ceiling is just so much higher for this sort of thing.
I wonder if they've done a backhander where it's like for the first 3, for the main 3, if you make it to the end, if you commit to doing all of this, you're set for generations. But if you pull out at any point, it's a fiver. Like, so
it's like I'm a Celebrity or The Office, where they didn't have the accountants on as proper members of the team until like the 3rd season or something like that.
Exactly.
I think they probably have been played a lot though, you know, because when you think about it, like if you're the parents of these children, like, and you're the agent of these children, and you're negotiating. whereas when they cast before, they didn't know if it was going to be a hit or not.
Yeah,
they know.
Yeah,
that, and I think as much as with all the will in the world, there's a lot of talk about people not watching it, boycotting it, stuff like that. My expectation is that it's probably going to be the biggest show on telly.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure anyway, but that's what I'd heard about that. So to come back around to
we're talking about the state of play.
I think you are right. So like that makes sense for Sony. I think people want to see what's next for God of War. I think we're now 10 years from Uncharted 4, as you know, we discussed the other week. So it makes sense if they are doing that to perhaps hear about what's going on there.
Don't want to watch it in the cinema though, do you?
No,
for an hour.
Not for me. Pete, if you were in charge of a show like this, would you be focusing on stuff that people can play in the next 12 months because there's like a perceived lack of that? Or would you just go, hearts and minds, let's get all the logos out, doesn't matter if this game's a PS6 game, we just want the conversation around Sony to be, we have games again?
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at how many of these state of players have actually put anything concrete out in the last 2 years. It's been, you know, scant amounts of releases coming out. So at some point, things will have to be shipped. They can't be waiting for that Grand Theft Auto thing to come out for very much longer. So yeah, they have to start putting out stuff that they've previewed. So yeah, I would concentrate on the things that are coming out sooner rather than later. Of which, who knows how many are actually going to.
I remember. I was on the tarmac at LAX watching the state of play that featured both Concord, RIP, and Astrobot, which was, they announced Astrobot and said it was out in like a couple of months, and that was such a buzz. Like, that was such a great thing. Like, if they have something of that scale, that would be great. There's obviously...
I think there is a tendency to do that sort of thing, right? As in to look at Nintendo, right? Star Fox and things like that, to just announce and then be out within 6 months. However, I think one element that's changing, and we don't really know if publishers are going to buy into that yet, but these consoles are getting more and more expensive, and that's making it more and more of a luxury purchase. And if you really want to tip someone over the edge and persuade them, yes, this is worth 800 quid, then perhaps one of the ways to do that is to say, Uncharted's coming back, not till 2028, but Uncharted's coming back. And also the other thing is, as the next gen time frame gets pushed back, you can announce stuff that maybe originally was planned to be cross-gen with more certainty that it's only going to be on the current thing or whatever. Because you know that you're not going to be talking PS6 next year.
I once did a cinema-based Final Fantasy 15 launch. I was hosting it, interviewing the creators, and it was going out on cinemas, few cinemas, I think, around Europe and stuff. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
Was that?
It was the most difficult.
When was that?
It was IGN. They played out, I think, like a half an hour anime of the Final Fantasy 15. Guys.
Yeah, the prequel thing.
Yeah, the prequel thing. And I was just sort of floating around. They'd recreated, what's the, not Hyrule, is it? What's the blooming...
Insomnia.
Yeah, the actual town itself, wherever.
Well, Hammerhead, probably Hammerhead.
Yeah. And so I was wandering around the like villages and kind of shopkeeping environments, talking to different people who'd worked on the game and people who were just dressed up like people from the game, and it was just chaotic.
God, the marketing of that
terrible.
Game was so
it's
weird.
so much money. The chocobos themselves were like, they were very rickety. I remember that you couldn't go near the chocobos because they'd fall.
They've got a good one in the office.
Somewhat.
You could climb it.
Yes,
in their office in the UK, they've got a really good one, but I don't think they would let you climb it. But actually, this comes on to just a general like the marketing around that game was so weird and so expansive and so expensive and also so of its time. You wouldn't do 80% of that shit now. And this is a funny thing where, just to taking us slightly off the topic of the news story we're talking about, but obviously I mentioned earlier I went to the Bond premiere last night, and I've just, the more I've seen of the 007 First Light marketing campaign, the more I'm fascinated by it, because it's like a campaign that fell out of 15 years ago. It's like a campaign for a late 360, early Xbox One, PS4 gen game. Even like the premiere, I'm very used to going to these events, as I'm sure you boys are, and you turn up and you don't recognise anyone there because it's all influencers and very, very young people. And there's some token journalists, old heads like us there. And I looked around this one and I was like, I know bloody everybody here. So it was so old school. And I'm very curious if it's going to work. But it's you mentioning a weird Final Fantasy campaign from years ago that sticks out in its weirdness. And then the Bond stuff is sticking out in a similar way. And it would be interesting to see how sticky that stuff is with end users.
Yeah. Stickier than Hajime Tabata's translators' leather trousers, I imagine.
Gavin,
they were very
lovely bloke.
He was wearing some lovely leather trousers, if I remember rightly.
He's a very fashionable dude. He would always wear the most incredible shirts. And also, I have to say, I doubt he listens to this, but shout outs to Gavin if he is, because in all my years, and I, with someone with a specialism in Japanese games, sit in rooms with interpreters a lot, and there are two in particular who I think the other one will know who he is, and he's still knocking around the industry, so I won't name him by name, and also quite a modest man. But him and Gavin are just the people where you'd walk into a room for an interview and go, this is going to be great. Yeah. Because they were so good at their jobs. Yeah. Gavin sadly no longer at Square. I don't know what he's up to these days. But he was, and I think he got quite a good rapport built up with Tabata by the end. Yeah, yeah. They seemed to sort of hang out socially, it seems, outside the job. And Tabata was very keen to be liked, bless him. Right. It'd be interesting to see. He's got a game in production now at his own studio. Hopefully that emerges at some point.
I think we say that about every game that's it's announced there. I don't know where Jordan's gone.
Jordan said, "I'm breaking the 4-4 here." Jordan has disconnected. And he's
there we
back.
go. And he's back.
And we didn't even have to. I was about to say we're going to a break. I was about to take rest control of the podcast and they were going for a break, but then
nice.
I'm going to take you into the scourge of my life, ladies and gentlemen. I have an old fucking laptop that sits on my feet that controls the studio PC. All it has to do is connect to Riverside and let me plug in my camera and mic, because it's old. It has a lot of ports which modern computers just refuse to have.
Yeah.
So occasionally, out of the blue, despite the fact that it's hardwired to the internet and the internet hasn't dropped anywhere, it'll go, nope, see you later, bye for now, and drop me. So that happens all the time. And then occasionally the HDMI port in the back of it is buggered, so it has to be jammed in as hard as possible. Lucky ghetto. And if it loosens even slightly, it disappears off my monitor, which is great.
You're basically using a PC like a fancy USB hub. It's very enjoyable. Good on you.
More or less. Man, when I was in the airport yesterday, I walked through the French version of Emotion or whatever the tech shop is in that airport, and I was looking at the
L'Emotion.
The L'Emotion. I was looking at the souped up MacBooks, and I was like, oh man, I would love a souped up MacBook.
You don't even need one nowadays. Just get an M1. They're still good.
Yeah, I really should. Very, very briefly before we go to the break, the Sony's filed a patent, a trademark for Break-In, which is seemingly a rebrand of Fair Games, which, congratulations, 5 points to you if you remember that game. Alex, very briefly before we go, does this game have a hope in hell?
Who knows? I mean, it all connects back to what we said earlier, where we were talking about, has Sony managed to release a successful live service game from one of their internal studios that isn't Bungie? And, like I said, I don't think Helldivers technically counts because it's not their own studio, but maybe this is the one. And I don't know, like it's because isn't it like Haven. A little bit like heisty.
Yeah, maybe it's like their version of Payday or something like that.
Yeah, and I suppose if it's because the thing about Payday's quite it's quite visceral and violent. You know, it's quite like Payday, Ready or Not. They've got that slightly nasty Kane and Lynch gene in them, which I love. So if this is a bit more of a friendly Fortnite-y version of that, then maybe it could work. Although all the stuff that's come from alpha testers hasn't infused the most confidence, but you live in hope. You know, you want all the games to be successful, right? So. Yeah.
I think you should you should need a license, a really expensive license to make an extraction shooter nowadays. Yeah. I think we've had too much of them. It needs to be government mandated licenses to make these.
Well, let me tell you, what has been happening to some of the people who've made them is a lot more expensive than any licensing fee.
That's true.
I was shocked to hear that one Lucky Moore of this parish is a big what the hell's the name of that game? It's completely lost my.
He's been Helldivers, isn't he?
Not the finals. What the hell is Arc Raiders?
Arc Raiders, it's a bit of a swerving. Well, he was always a PUBG man, and then I joined him on a little skirmish, and he stopped playing that because he just probably thought I was too cool. And then now he's found something else. Really, like Luke's really interesting. Like I have so little time to do anything these days, and he has so little time to do anything these days, but he really does throw himself into experiences that are unbecoming for a man who's just moved house and has got a small child. It's just, I don't know how he reads books, he watches television. I think he might be just putting things in the calendar that don't exist that he's actually doing. He's just playing video games.
Lots of phantom podcast records that never come to be. More slander for podcast peers, and even more PlayStation, because it's been a hell of a week after this. And we are back. PlayStation boss says single-player games won't come to PC going forward. The big man Herman Hulst held a town hall this week, and according to Bloomberg, he confirmed what we already pretty much knew, that Sony's big first-party single-player releases, like your Saros, your Ghost of Yoti, and your Wolverine, won't be coming to PC any longer, though multiplayer games like your Marathon probably still Well, Alex, this seems like Sony realigning ahead of PS6, where they have to have a selling point that is these big PlayStation games, you only play them on PlayStation. Now, I would say that the way they approached PC stuff was ludicrous, and no wonder that the game sold like 5 copies when you're putting out Uncharted 4 like 6 years later. But some of those ports, specifically the Spider-Man ones, because obviously people love Spider-Man, seem to do all right.
Well, the thing is also, let's not understate the potential of catalog sales. The other week, when I was on a few weeks ago, we spent a whole section, right, talking about how Capcom had this record-breaking year, and despite the fact they had several big games, the majority of their sales was just enormous catalog sales. And so you could still be selling a lot of copies of Uncharted and things like that really late on PC at the right price point. You can't release it as a new game price point if it's 5-6 years old. But I think this is all down to 3 things, right? Well, 2 things, really. First thing is some of the games underperformed, as you sort of touched on. The second thing is it is 3 things. The second thing is what you said, PS6. They've got to think about PS6. But the third thing is actually, I think, the most pressing, which is you've got Valve looking at a living room box. You've got all the rumours flying around that the next Xbox is essentially a PC and may very well be compatible with Steam and Epic Games Store and other storefronts. And if you're putting God of War out on that, and you can technically play God of War on an Xbox, I mean, to put it, Microsoft would make the argument, and indeed, it was one of the games they demoed when they were demoing it in sort of a way. You can play God of War 2018 on an Xbox because you can play it on a ROG Ally. And so the for Sony, that this is them protecting their neck. And I think the current status quo that went so weird, I think it's absolutely going to be reevaluated. I think Xbox as well. I don't think they're going to go back to full exclusive all the time, but I definitely think some sort of reckoning is coming for them as well.
See, the thing is, Dringo was saying that no one can afford exclusives, and surely Xbox of all places are in a kind of a situation where I know that the fans are freaking, not the fans, that's unfair. The zealots are freaking out because the Fable Twitter account was like, yeah, it's still coming to PS5. And everyone was tagging Asher Sharma being like, make this exclusive, only exclusive. They don't deserve anything. And it's like so ridiculous and embarrassing.
This contract was signed 10 years ago. Grow up.
It's like, we have this game in PS5 boxes, mate. It's going to happen. Like,
it's also a terrible look to like unannounce a game. So I don't expect they will revoke anything from PlayStation they've confirmed for PlayStation. I think the more interesting question is what stuff that is going to be announced looks like. You know what I would do if I was them? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I was chatting to Dring and some other people about it, and I said if I was them, I would spin Activision Blizzard out, not sell it, but spin it out so it's not, I mean it already isn't, but make it even less part of Xbox. And basically say, Activision Blizzard is our third-party publisher that Microsoft owns. And then, because the AB games are the ones they're not going to make exclusive anyway, because of COD and, and things like that. And the Blizzard stuff is at home on PC and stuff like that. But then that means if you want to do Indiana Jones 2 on PlayStation, but you want to do it 6 months later, maybe Xbox Game Studios publishes the first release on Xbox and PC, and then Activision publishes the second one, and you get this sort of you get a cleaner line then, and you can say anything that is being published by one side is going to be timed exclusive or exclusive. Anything on the other side, I don't know, because that's the big problem with Xbox is they just don't. It's not clear. Sony's got clear messaging here, where they're like, it's going to be the service games only, and I think that's good because if you want to play, the next God of War, it's PlayStation or nothing.
Yeah, the Bloomberg in an article when this originally kicked off earlier this year said that there was a faction within PlayStation that had also expressed concern that releasing their games on PC risks damaging the console's brand and hurt sales of the PlayStation 5 and its successors. Pete, do you think there's some logic in that? And I know there was and it's hard to tell if this is just Twitter being Twitter, but there were people being like, okay, when a big Sony game gets announced on PlayStation, 6 months, a year till PC, the better version in some cases, the worst version in some cases, because some of those ports were dug meat. But when a PS6 gets announced, if they come out and say, all our single player stuff, it's only on PlayStation. And if we are tying this to the idea that they announce an Uncharted, they talk about what Cory Barlog's up to, they talk about Infamous. Let's not go there again.
Stop with the Infamous. It's not happening.
I'd actually like to take a moment to take a moment to clarify some things, since fucking Complex put out a tweet about this. Again, I have absolutely no idea if they're going to have Infamous at this state of play. Everything I said in the last podcast, everything I said on Kinda Funny when Greg phoned me, that is where we are at. No new information.
VGC's Jordan Midler confirms Infamous for June state of play. Hands on at Summer Games Fest.
Yeah, it's going to be emotional. One thing I will say, it was nice to see so many people expressing their love for Infamous. And my question is, where were you back then? Where were you in the PS3 days when no one cared about Infamous? It's stolen valor.
Was Infamous 2 PS5 launch? I forget.
No, Infamous 1 and 2 were PS3, and then Infamous Second Son was PS4.
Sorry, Second Son.
But not quite launched, slightly after it.
Right,
the collector's edition of that game came with a beanie, which was class. And then they did Infamous First Light, which was an expansion to Second Son, but could also be played as its own little thing. Infamous Second Son was the game that at the PS4 review, a guy came out on the stage and was like, police brutality, surveillance state. And then it came up Infamous. It was like, oh, okay, that's pretty good.
I just want to know when they're bringing back Prototype. If we're bringing back that sort of stuff. Bring back, what is his name? Alec Pierce?
Alec Mercer?
Alec Mercer, that's it. I don't know. It's the thing is, the genie you can't put back. Well, you can put it back in the bottle, but the genie that's very difficult to put back in the bottle is the "I will wait" genie. So, as well as Forza Horizon has sold, there will be a lot of people who have said, "I'll wait for the PlayStation version," and I think that's what Sony's combating ultimately. Is if you just say we're not doing it, no one will say I'll wait. And that means someone who desperately wants, like Forza Horizon, with all the buzz and stuff about it. Think of it this way, it's a perfect example. It's tearing up the charts, fabulous month for British video games when you've got this and you've got First Light, which was partially made in the UK, and you've got Lego Batman as well. Great month for games made or partially made in the UK. Forza is a huge smashing success. I think that they'll be really, really pleased with it. The funny thing about that success, though, is success gathers success. So when a game sells that well and everyone's talking about it on social media and stuff, it drives sales. But it's hobbled on Forza because a certain percentage of people who get caught up in that hype go, that's great, I'll wait.
Yeah.
Whereas in the previous generation, it would have been, that's great, shit, maybe I need to buy an Xbox.
I'm literally in that situation. I'm meeting a man who, on the Facebook Marketplace listing, looks like he has no teeth actually, which is interesting. I'm buying an Xbox S for my living room, my first Xbox in a generation, and just simply to play Forza because I've got a KD3 steering wheel that only works on PC and Xbox. So I was like, well, I'll get a little cheap little Facebook Marketplace Xbox. So all the changes that Asher Sharma's making at Xbox, they're working for me because I'm buying.
You're on the front
Xbox
line.
An Xbox from a man with no teeth, meeting on some waste ground behind the Tesco's. Lovely.
I bought a month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate from a dodgy website for £11 to play Forza, and I downloaded it, played it, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty nice. And then I drove about Tokyo, and I was like, why does this feel a little bit lifeless? Is unfair, but like going towards that end, and I was like, first of all, for better or worse, when you think Tokyo, you think like branding that you can recognize, and it's like it's not the Sega building anymore, but it's like the Gigo building or whatever it is now, and that is so ingrained in people who are upset. Go on, Alex.
I did a tweet about this. I feel quite strongly about this because Forza Horizon, I think, when you're out in the sticks, feels so authentically Japanese. It's shocking. But I think when you're in the cities, it's got a weird problem, and I think you've just hit it on the head. But the thing is, you don't need to get the brands. You just need to have stuff that's a facsimile of the real. So, like, a really good example is Shibuya. they've got the 109 building, the famous department store. They've got the shape of the building because the shape of the building is not copyrighted, which is a thing. Like a lot of games don't do Vegas very well because a lot of the designs of the hotels
copyrighted, right? Yeah,
copyrighted. That's why the Chrysler building's not in Spider-Man 2, famously.
Yes, but so they've got the 109 building, but 109 is the building shape is sort of defined by the 109 number at the top. Now they can't do that because that's the name of the store, but they've just got a generic rectangular billboard up there.
Yeah,
and just like why? Because like The World Ends With You, also set in Shibuya, has that, but it's the 104 building, just a little bit to the left. But at a glance, it looks right, and it's sort of like, and so the Gigo building should have been the the Gaga building or whatever you can, whatever the lawyers let you get away with.
What was that game? Was it Ghostline Tokyo? What was the name of that blooming game?
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo.
That has an
amazing Shibuya. And like you got the Starbucks above the Shibuya crossing. You've got Basketball Street and stuff. Like it's good. It's a really good approximation. But maybe Forza with their huge lawyers probably sort of think that's probably more trouble.
It's also like, and this isn't to denigrate from what I played. I think it's fantastic.
You can whip a Toyota Crown Majesta around Akihabara. Come on,
and beautiful. Obviously, like the lack of like the most important thing, people is like a big element of why it doesn't
Drunks,
look like
Andy.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's a racing
standing in the middle of Shibuya Crossing. But yeah, that was the only thing that I was like, I wonder if a PC version of this, if people could go in and put all the brands in, that would be class.
That's why people don't want their games on PCs, because the mod scene is just so aggressive.
Did you see that viral story about the Resident Evil Requiem in the window when you're in the city and they've got the credit card logos? And
they did fake ones.
Like, how brilliant are these? Because they were all like a facsimile of the real thing, but a look, they absolutely sold you. And I think that's what Forza has lacked a little bit in the cities. But don't get me wrong, I think it quite possibly could be one of the best racing games of all time.
It's no Burnout 3, but let's be serious here. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. The only thing that I'm completely over the showcase elements of the Forza Horizon series, where it's like, and obviously the one that's gone viral this time is like, you're racing a Gundam. It's like, I don't like that stuff because it might as well just be a cutscene because it's so kind of scripted. But the driving around Japan and flying through the weakest trees in the world only to get slammed into a cherry blossom tree while you're going like 300 miles an hour. Very satisfying. So Pete, you'll need to give us a field report on that. Very briefly before we go to Japan. After a fan poll, Microsoft's new game boss is rebranding Xbox to Xbox. Earlier this week, gaming's Elon Musk, Asha Sharma.
You have to shout it. That's the second new version.
Xbox.
Asha Sharma told fans on Twitter to ask about if Microsoft's gaming arm should be known as Xbox or Xbox in all caps. After receiving 19,000 votes, the capitalized version won out, and now the poor Xbox wire looks a mess because it's in all capitals now, and the word wire is in it's just as it used to be. Pete, this has obviously led you to buy an Xbox, so congratulations.
It's got me. I like shouting, you know me. I'm a capital letter kind of guy. The thing about Asha Sharma is like she's doing like a lot of easy, fan servicey stuff, but it's not for like the broad base of fans. It's for like the terminally online maniacs, isn't it? Really, and the thing I mainly find problems with her is that she wears really nicely cut jackets. Always pairs them with trainers though, which is the CEO of gaming companies. Just normal kind of central casting clothes. They can't wear shoes with nice tailored jackets, and I'm furious with her. So that's my main objection.
I've got nothing against Asha is playing a blinder here. The hearts and minds moves are unbelievable. Like the kind of stuff they're doing. We joked about them like bringing back the blades and stuff like that. Like they have changed the club crest to the classic crest.
Bring back the red ring of death.
Look, what I would say is this, right? I want to preface this very like carefully, because I'm not a hater. Well, I am, but not in this instance. I hate many things, but not this. But all the noises I hear from inside Xbox, right, is that it was all like the latter end of the Phil era and the Bond era was all a little bit wishy-washy, all a little bit rudderless. They wanted to do things, but then didn't want to do them at the same time. I think there was a lot of push and pull with what Xbox necessarily wanted / needed to do, and what the Microsoft organization wanted / needed Xbox to do. And so you ended up with a wishy-washy approach to things. All the noises I've heard from inside all suggest that the Sharma regime has so far been defined by coming in, having quite difficult conversations, and then making a bloody decision. Basically, Sharma's come in and gone, right, on all these topics, we've got to piss or get off the pot, basically. And so they've been doing it and making decisions. And it all sounds really positive. I mean, are they going to be the right decisions? That's another debate. But strong leadership that is making decisions and making moves and making changes is the only thing that's going to get them out of this cul-de-sac that they've driven themselves into. With that said, who gives a shit? Like, whether the name is in lowercase or all caps or properly capitalized, who actually cares? For me, on the media side, anybody who goes and updates their style guide to conform with this, it's absolute narc behavior. Who cares? And the other thing I'd say is, I actually think it's the first thing that they've done that I've been like I feel like it's a bit cynical, in the sense that it's a hugely wasteful, the amount of work that would have been generated, not just at Xbox, but like with all the partners. So if you're Razer, if you're Asus, you've got to rebrand all your packaging, all your terms and conditions. Any press release you send out has got to now conform to this new thing. Like, I dread to think what this has cost for a purely cosmetic thing that makes next to no difference. And so I'm not a fan of that, but I will say, in general, all the noises are like positive about, oh yeah, Asher is really trying to drive decisions and change, and I think that's awesome. I just wish it wasn't a really spurious decision like this decided by Twitter poll.
Xbox! Thank you very much.
Actually, bring that back, back in the day we used to have Sega! They changed, maybe that's what they're going for.
Let me audition then. Xbox!
That sounded a bit scared. A bit scared.
Yeah. Xbox. Thank you very much for listening to this week's podcast. We're going to throw to Chris and Andy over in Japan. If you're in Glasgow tonight, Friday the 22nd, and you want to come and talk about Metal Gear Solid with me, Jordan Midler, go to Arcade, find their website, book a ticket, come and join us. The VGC Discord crew will be there as well. Great fun. I think there's 4 tickets left, so if you hear this in time, wonderful. Before we cut to Andy and Chris, patreon.com/video games chronicle for all that good stuff. Say goodbye, Alex.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Pete.
Goodbye.
Arigato gozaimasu. And now we move to Japan.
Konnichiwa, konbanwa.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
Hi.
And all the rest.
Yeah, delete is applicable, whatever suits your situation. I'm Chris, BitSummit Scullion, and I'm joined by
Andy BitSummit Robinson.
the dream team, and we're here in sunny Kyoto, although it's threatening to rain.
It's sunny right now, but it certainly will not be later and was not earlier.
Certainly
With
not.
a brief clearing in rain to bring you some live audio chatter from a park opposite the convention centre, where we may or may not be breaking one of multiple public filming laws.
Yeah.
We'll find out later. If we don't come back to the UK, you know why.
There was a part even closer to the convention centre, but it had a playground in it, and I thought if we weren't breaking laws now, we certainly would have been breaking laws then. So probably
we'll do the next one from a playground.
Exactly. We'll get slowly closer to the swings and then and see how long it takes to get banned. We're here at BitSummit. Andy, we've been here about a week nearly already. What have you been up to?
I mean, I came here for unrelated reasons. It's just a nice coincidence to be able to come to BitSummit for the first time in a couple of years. I've not been since 23. You come every year. Usually I'm in Japan in the summer anyway. So the timing of the event is not ideal, but they've moved it this year to a little bit earlier, which means that I can come. And also we're not melting too much. I've got a pair of jeans on,
same.
which is incredible.
Yeah, we're here in May. It's usually in July, but tell you what, Japan in May suits me.
It was a useful timing as well, because there was a viral story this week on Japanese news about they did a vox pop with some girls, and they were talking about how disgusting it is that middle-aged men wear shorts. So
Brilliant.
yeah,
Oh, well, what am I gonna shout?
really set the tone for the summer. That did.
Yeah, that's good.
So no, I've been here. I've only got into Kyoto last night, so I've been in Tokyo on a studio visit that I'll have on VGC at some point in the near future. Before it goes on Reddit, it's nothing. No megaton. But it's a really interesting story that I'm looking forward to putting on VGC. I've just been on constant dinners. I met Suda-san, Mizuguchi, a couple of other guys who I'll mention later. So that's why I've got no voice. I've not adjusted to the Japanese time zone whatsoever, and I'm ready to go home and watch West Ham get relegated.
See, my voice is perfect because I've been brilliant. I've done a great job at badly timing everything. So when you were made aware of lunch at Grasshopper, you messaged me to let me know, saying, do you want to go for lunch at Grasshopper? I was like, I'm literally 2 hours away at the Snoopy Museum.
Disneyland.
I'm at the Snoopy Museum.
Yeah.
Tell Suda-san, give Suda-san my apologies, but Snoopy and Charlie Brown are waiting.
But it's been good. It's always, I mean, obviously I come pretty regularly. It's always nice to catch up and get a lay of the land, because the feel in the West at the moment, the feeling in the West is that everything's on fire.
Yeah.
You know, among the big traditional AAA publishers, the big five at least. We look to the East, and you know, a lot of the biggest games recently, certainly in the AAA space, have been Japanese games or Chinese games.
Yeah.
You know, companies like Capcom seem to be, unable to foul at the moment. They're on an incredible streak, and Sega's in rude health, and Nintendo's in rude health, and Konami's on the up, and you know, Square Enix will come back soon as well. So it's always interesting to get a chatter and the lay for the land. It seems like the theme at the moment is that there's a lot of the studios that took foreign investment in this pandemic are in trouble. As we know from the NetEase situation. It seems like Tencent is not far behind.
Yeah.
You know, they're obviously a proper business. They want to see returns. So there's a lot of chatter that a lot of those studios that took that investment could be in a challenging position soon. I mean, Nagoshi Studio is the one that I was asking around about a lot. Obviously, I don't think there's anything I have to add to that story beyond that. I think it's true, yes. I think that they have until probably the end of next week, end of this month, to find funding. I think Nagoshi is trying to find funding. I think so far he's been unsuccessful. And the talk here among other studios in Tokyo is that a lot of those guys are applying for jobs, and some other foreign-owned studios as well that might become a story later in the summer. So that's sad, but there's a lot of good news stories here as well, right? And it's not just about how cheaper it is to make games here, because it is, especially compared to California, where the bulk of the layoffs have been in the games industry the last couple of years, but also the institutional knowledge that Japanese studios have, that they don't go through the boom and bust that we do in the West. You know, firing and hiring again a couple of years later. You know, Microsoft and other, kind of big corporations wondering why they spend hundreds of millions assembling, the initiative and teams like that, and they can't ship anything because they're brand new teams and they've not worked together. Whereas you have, the last Mario Brothers game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, all of the guys who worked on the original Mario Brothers worked on that game. They're able to pass down this knowledge, and that's invaluable. Yeah,
it's interesting because obviously we did a story a couple of months ago about Japanese developers saying that Japan does have a jobs problem, but it's different from the West. Whereas, like you say, the West is a boom and bust where you finish a project and a lot of people get laid off and they start a game with a new team. Japan, like you say, keeps its teams for a long time, but that makes it harder for people to get in at the kind of ground level because so fewer people lose their jobs in Japan. So it has its issues, but it's certainly, like you say, the massive difference is that obviously Japan keeps its teams and they build their knowledge from game to game to game instead of kind of wiping the deck.
I went to Pocket Pair as well. Popped my head in there. Yeah,
did you shout police?
I did ask where the lawyers were, and as a joke, they went, yeah, they're over there. But they got some nice pocket. They've got some Pocket Pair, some Power World money. Got some. I went on the Power World UFO catcher. Power World? No, I didn't. Power World poker table.
Did you win anything?
No.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, they asked me to pay a microtransaction, and that was that. Yeah, I was all out. What else have I done?
Sounds a lot like the casino minigame in Pokemon, if you ask me. But.
Oh, I went. Like a proper 12-year-old's dream. I went to a Kenichi gig. A friend of Kenichi is a famous Japanese techno DJ who did one of the tracks in Rez, which is one of my favourite games. He's also been in other games, like he's been in Lumines as well. And a mutual friend invited me to go with him to a club that he was performing in. So I got to go to the green room and be backstage in this club. And then the thing is, he left at I think he went on at maybe he finished at 2. And then they come around the club for a little bit, and then they were like, we're going to leave now. And they were like, you going to leave? I was like, no. so me and another games industry mutual just had our artist passes and our green room, and we used it to the full.
Well, absolutely.
But that was a load of fun. That was good fun. That was surreal. Yeah. But looking back, it kind of set the tone for my week.
Certainly did.
Here I am, a broken man.
Whereas I'm fresh as a daisy. I mean, I've been sleeping a lot, but I've gone on my own. I went on my wee pilgrimage to Tokyo Disneyland on Wednesday. That's one we mentioned before in the podcast, where I was strict about going on my own. We should talk about Yoshi and the Mysterious Book as well. Oh yeah, because
which is out this week. My review went up on I don't know what day it is, on Tuesday. I gave it 5 out of 5, which I deliberated over. I think I gave it the highest score. I'm not surprised, but you know what? I really loved it. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant, and we always say it's the Roger Ebert thing, right? Where he always said he judged movies based on what they're going out to achieve. Yeah. I think he famously gave Jackass the movie a perfect score, and it's but what Jackass is trying to achieve is not what Schindler's List is trying to achieve, right? You're not watching Schindler's List going, this is not funny. It's completely, they're in different lanes. And for what Yoshi's setting out to achieve, I think it does an amazing job in a way that, say, I didn't like Donkey Kong Bonanza as much as everyone else, even though I still really enjoyed that. I think it's the most unique 2D platformer I've played in a long time. I think maybe, in my opinion, I'd say you could compare it to Wonder, to Mario. I think if this was a Mario Brothers game, people would be talking there'd be a lot more excitement about it. It's so creative. It has that Nintendo EPD thing where it introduces ideas and mechanics, then just chucks them out again. At a rapid pace.
Yeah, Yoshi has some preconceived notions with it, doesn't it? And so do, although people didn't know it was a good feel game at the time, games of that ilk do as well. So Yoshi's Woolly World, Yoshi's Crafted World.
I don't think anyone was really massively looking forward to it. Let's be honest, there's not been a brilliant Yoshi game since Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
I think the recent Woolly ones were okay, were pretty good. I think this is the best one since the Super NES. I had a brilliant time. It's lots of other reviewers were complaining that it's not a technically challenging game, but that's not what it is.
Yeah,
it's almost like a side-scroller sandbox.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would say I would buy it for the plane home, but that's not going to happen.
And if you did, you wouldn't play it.
I will buy it here probably because it'll be cheaper, but I will ultimately play Picross on the plane home and nothing else. That's just how life works. We're here at BitSummit. It's only been on for a couple of hours so far. We're here in the afternoon of the first day, the business day, which is my favourite day because obviously the public aren't here yet.
Because there's no unwashed.
There's no scum But it's nice because even when the public's here, it's not massively busy. It's always kind of, and because it's in Japan, everyone's polite and respectful. Nobody's pushing each other away and filming themselves. But on the business day, it's a bit even calmer, and you can walk about the show floor and quite easily just walk up to stuff and try it out.
And also, you kind of just bump into lots of people. Like I just bumped into a few people on the way out. Right, it's nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I've not had a chance to play a lot yet because I just got in. Went to the Nintendo booth. If you go to the Nintendo booth, you get a wee. I've got it right here. In fact, you get a free.
For our audio listeners, he's rummaging through a bag.
You get a free Indie World bag, a little bag.
That's what I always wanted.
Well, finally.
What do you put in there? Your more underwhelming list of collectibles.
I put my credibility in there. There's plenty of space for it.
Your obligated marketing deals.
IndieWorld.com. I don't know if that's the actual website. But yeah, I'm excited for the next couple of days because it's nice. I like the vibe of BitSummit. Obviously, I've done Gamescom a few times, done a Summer Game Fest, and they're obviously quite press-heavy events. The sections we go to, at least, and that's got its own kind of vibe. But I like the fact that, especially in BitSummit, because it's all indie game led, every kind of booth, almost every booth has the actual developer there. So you can play the game and then you can talk straight to the developer about it.
It's very authentic.
And because they come from all over the world now, there's not as much of a language barrier as you may think. Obviously, there's a lot of Japanese games, but there's lots of games from European developers and
Southeast Asia scene in particular, I think, is really up and coming.
Yeah.
There's so many kind of great indie games coming from those countries, and also some of them are here are absolutely bonkers, right? What's the weirdest thing you've seen so far?
There's one, I can't remember the name of it, Copernicus something or other, and it's a roguelike game done in the style of an old Apple II, like really bad quality like graphics, but deliberately like 1-bit stuff. And it's a roguelike, so you're going around shooting a flamethrower at these aliens, and as you die you have to obviously like build your weapons and stuff. So the core mechanics aren't massively wild, but it looks and sounds like...
I'll be honest, when I asked you for the weirdest game you saw, I wasn't expecting you to say a roguelike.
Okay, well...
usually there's stuff in here where you got to shout and smash things.
That's true. I've been here 20 minutes, to be fair. I'm sure there'll be more stuff coming. Later next week, or maybe the week after, there'll be a video on VGC's YouTube channel, basically running down everything that I've played.
What's all the weird dead guys in there?
Dead guy? Oh yeah, I've not played that yet. There's a really horrible booth where there's 2 dead, skinned couple lying in a bed, dead with a pool of blood.
Fictional.
Yeah. So I mean, they're dedicated to their indie games here, but they're not that dedicated. Nobody's like skinning themselves for the craft. But yeah, there's a model of 2 dead people skinned alive in a bed with a pool of blood next to it. So I'm going to go and see what game that is. I'm sure it's some sort of kawaii.
Kids will love that one on public day tomorrow.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. Only put a big sheet over it. But yeah, so there's going to be some weird stuff. Like I say, there'll be full coverage on YouTube in a couple of weeks' time of everything I played. If you're on Patreon, patreon.com/videogameschronicle, there's going to be a big, massive feature length, it's looking like now, documentary, maybe end of June, of everything I did in Japan since I got here. So it's going to be like cover the entire thing, and obviously BitSummit will be the kind of main middle of that.
Scullion's holiday vlog.
Listen, there's some Scorsese-esque shots at Disneyland that people are going to... I'm thinking of submitting it for the Academy Awards. I think I'm in the shout.
Standing ovation at Cannes.
Yeah. So we'll see. Can you dig it? So yeah, I think we're going to go back in and see what else there is. But yeah, anything to add?
No.
Just happy. Over to you, Jordan.
VGC is supported by Patreon. Check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle for more podcasts, ad-free browsing, and extra content. Thank you for your support.